Welcome to That's My Biz, the Internet Business Showcase, where we bring exposure to products, services, and special causes of local businesses and organizations. Thank you so much for joining us. We are coming to you live from the BizLinks TV studio. Brought to you by Biz Site Names. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's My Biz. I'm Pamela Alexander, your host, and as always, we bring you some wonderful guests, some wonderful businesses, and we have with us today Stacy and Roger Vaughn with D-Unity Group. Thank you all so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So let me tell you a little bit about them. They have a vast background. They're executive professionals with over 20 years of experience, retired military, former government services employee, and federal contractor for the Department of Defense in various contracting areas. This husband and wife team has a strong, diverse background in networking, business development, strategic planning, contract management, and marketing for various sized businesses wanting to get into government contracting. So this is going to be some really good information for you all today. D-Unity Group is a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business and a minority-owned small business, and we're going to talk more about what that is. They concentrate on state, local, and federal government contracts and grants. They also provide resources for certifications, government purchasing schedules, and business strategies, as well as development of business plans, financial analysis, contract management, proposals, bid proposals such as RFPs and RFQs. So a lot of great information for you all out there, especially as it relates to working with the federal government. So let's get into the first question, which is, why does it take so long to get the contracts and grants?
Well, it's not an easy process,
Okay.
and part of it is meeting compliance. So it's a step by step, and if you miss a step, then you end up starting back again.
Okay.
So that's why it's real important to know what the expectations are, or the rules of the game,
Okay.
because it does take a while. And you know the government, they don't do things quickly.
Right.
Unfortunately, but there's a reason why they don't do it quickly.
Okay.
And so I think that's what's real important for most businesses
Okay.
to understand. This is a strategic growth plan.
Okay.
So if you're in business, you just start a business, it may be something you do in 3 to 5 years from
Okay.
this point on.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does take a level of patience that probably a lot of people don't have nowadays, because we live in a world and a society of we want it now or we
Right.
want it yesterday. But unfortunately, when you're working with the government, it's not the case. That is
Okay.
not the case at all.
Okay. So, and I mentioned in the bios the vast background that you all have. So tell me how you all actually started the Unity Group.
We started D-Unity Group over 10 years ago as a concept because I was consulting for some big firms, and I was doing the 1099 thing, and my CPA goes, you need to form some kind of corporation. And then we have mentors and other government employees say, go start this business because they really need help. We
Right.
can't tell them everything. So we can kind of tell you what our expectations are, and that's kind of literally how it got formed.
So you all became a great connection for those that don't understand it, because you all already were in there and really were understanding what the businesses really needed to do.
Absolutely, and we also saw the challenges that small businesses were having, especially trying to work overseas
Okay.
on contracts, especially some of the multi-billion-dollar contracts that are out there. Because ultimately, the larger the dollar, the more complex the contract is probably going to be.
Okay.
So we saw the challenges, working with some of the large prime contractors out there, and so we decided, hey, maybe this is something that we need to do on our own, because we've seen and experienced the pitfalls that they're having.
Okay. Now, do you all work primarily with small businesses?
We do. We vast from big business to small. A lot of the
Okay.
big businesses don't have a business development team.
Okay.
So a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, will you come and train?" And so we'll train their entities. Or those medium-sized businesses, they're kind of in that growth spurt. They can't bid on small business, and they need to bid on large business. So
Okay.
they really got to help them with that growth potential.
Okay. Now, there are a lot. Were you about to add something, Roger?
Well, I was going to say there's with the medium-sized business, there's that gray area.
Okay.
They can't be small and they can't be
Okay.
large. So
Okay.
we have to kind of coax them into making up their mind which way they want to go.
Okay, sounds good. Now, there are a lot of different types of certifications out
Right.
there. We mentioned the two that you all have related to being veterans and being minority owned. How do the businesses choose which one is best for them?
It's based on ownership. The owner has to be 51% owner. The other thing is we say look at as that a secondary, look at your core competency of what you do and then see if the government is using it, that service or product, and then getting the certification if that is something the government's starting to ask you for. We have a client and there's one called 8A for those disadvantaged businesses, but we don't recommend it for everybody because it's a hard process to go through. It's 2 years to get it now, and not every government entity wants you to have an 8A certification. And right now, I always say the hot button right now is women-owned and veteran-owned. And if you're a woman-owned veteran, it's even bigger hot button. So you have to look at the trend. You know, several years ago, minority was a big issue. In certain parameters of the United States, minority is a hot button, like in Oklahoma, some of these other areas, where being veteran-owned is a little bit more of a hot button. So you have to look at where you're trying to do business for government entities, state and local, and federal. So, yeah.
I can imagine that, like you mentioned, the process, people not really understanding the process, and sometimes maybe it's not as complicated as we have that fear of it being. So it's great that a company like you all's is out there to help them. Talk a little bit about the compliance side of working with these contracts.
So the compliance part is that making sure you're checking off the blocks, because what happens is you can win a contract that's easy, but you want to get paid on time. And you're one of hundreds of thousands that get started. So you need to put in the right forms and put it in a certain format. You know, sometimes it's as simple as putting it in Times New Roman versus Arial. You know, so those are kind of the nitpicky things that a lot of businesses don't understand. But the reason why is a lot of times the government's scanning them into big, you know, servers, that kind of stuff, and they have to have it a certain way.
And then, too, you have to understand, getting awarded a contract is only the beginning. The real fun starts when you start to perform and comply with all of the deliverables that the client is asking for. Or I say the client, the customer is asking for. So you have to be on top of your game when it comes to that, because one little slip up, as she mentioned, could cause you to actually lose that contract. And in this day and age, you don't want to lose contracts.
Because I've just heard some recent stories when they talk about that. You know, it's kind of like being blackballed if you don't service that contract the way that you were supposed to.
You're on a blacklist.
Wow.
Yeah, so that showed the blacklist, ironically, huh?
Exactly. Now, let me ask, how is social media planning a part in federal government contracts?
Because actually, we just talked about it on our radio show. It'll be aired in a couple weeks, but it's a government. What did we name it? Oh,
social media Fed style.
A lot of federal agencies are starting to use social media. They're posting inquiries about if there's businesses out there. Because Google gets so expansive, and I had an intern when I worked in government, and they would do a lot of research, and it was a lot of yellow pages, that kind of stuff. So now our yellow pages has become Google, and it gets a little overwhelming. So they don't know what to. And so the other thing is now the marketing, and so they think about the marketing trend in social media is a big planning process of it. Plus, you want to make sure your company stands and looks a certain way in front of a government entity, and you don't have an intern posting something inappropriately or family members. I think that's kind of really important, especially in this market.
Well, also, too, you have to understand that a lot of federal agencies are using such things as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and whatnot in order to see what's going on within their agencies. For example, the U.S. Geological Survey has 65 Twitter accounts. 65. So they are using it. We talked with someone the other day that was actually in the trucking industry. Oddly enough, his 13-year-old daughter, 13, actually found an opportunity for them on Twitter. So
that's a story.
So that it works. It
so
works.
for businesses that are really thinking in particular industries that I don't need to use social media if I'm in industry, now we're seeing even for them it's important to be out there and be active.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is, I love that particular nugget. I'm telling you, wow. Now let me ask you, when we're talking about nonprofits and how you all work with nonprofits and how they set up their structure properly.
And really, a profit and nonprofit, they run the same way. But with a nonprofit, the compliance is much harder and higher. You know, it's about pennies versus dollars. And so on a nonprofit, you need to make sure that the mission statement is always outstanding in that aspect, and that it's a follow-through, marketing, that kind of thing. But what happens with grants is they want to know what the outcomes will be, the analytics. And if you don't have that in there, you're never going to get a grant. Okay. You have to put some kind of outline, strategic. Our plan is to have 100 students, and out of the 100, our expectations at 50%. Not to say that you won't meet those numbers, but you've got to have some kind of goal lines in that aspect of a grant.
Okay. Now, can nonprofits also be certified?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So now with that, and we were talking about the certifications, why should a business, I mean, should every business be certified, or why should businesses get certified and do business with the federal government?
Well, in the aspect of the federal government, you're going to have to be registered. You don't have to register anyway, regardless of what your background is, or ethnicity, or whatever the case may be. Once again, it goes back to what she alluded to earlier: is not every certification is a worthy certification for you. So, one, you have to know your industry and who are the big buyers in your industry. And where are they buying? So you need to understand, it's education. It's education. Basically, you have to educate yourself on where the money is being spent. And where the money is being spent, where the most of it is being spent, may not be a good place for you to go. You may need to look at some other entities out there that aren't as prominent as the Department of Defense. It might be the Department of the Interior, that could utilize your services. So it's a matter of actually doing the work and doing the research to find out exactly where the money is being spent, and if the certification numbers are lagging in that particular agency. So, for example, if you're a woman-owned business and say the USDA is meeting their numbers, it's 5%, and they're getting 6%. Chances are you might not want to go that route. You want to go somewhere where it is actually lower. Equal or lower.
Okay. So now, in talking about companies and diversifying their business, how do companies diversify their business, or what are some suggestions that you have?
Diversifying is not to put all your eggs in one basket. But put all in contracting, all in federal contracting, state and local, that kind of stuff. And knowing that, some of your contracts that you do, how to grow those. Because a lot of times they go, oh, it's 3 years, I'm good, I don't need to do anymore. A lot of times you get more work after those 3 years of performance. And that's what we saw was a lot of great small businesses, they were like, oh, I only have to get it done for the next 3 years. But a lot of times our projects would extend up to 5, even 10 years. And it may be a smaller task order or a lower number financially. But if you have one person, after 10 years, it's returned in its investment and then some.
And do you find that many companies, once they are awarded, do they typically get it awarded again? Or, because I know they go back into the process a lot of times, right? Do they typically become the ones that get awarded again?
Typically, they will, depending on the entity that's behind the desk, is what I always want to say. If they really like them and have built that relationship with them, yes.
Yeah, if you're doing what they ask you to do, the old adage, undersell, overperform type of thing. If you're doing that, you'll be fine. You will be fine, and then it's part of the compliance aspect of whether it's government contracts or commercial contracts. So, if you're underselling and you're overperforming, so to speak, then usually you will be fine, because they don't want to change. It costs more money to change than it is to keep them there.
Now, do you all work with the companies even after they get the contract and helping them to make sure that they maintain and build that relationship?
Actually, that's the sweet spot for us. Because a lot of times when they win, I'm like, now you have to really roll up your sleeves and make sure, especially if you're growing so quickly. Like we've seen a lot of companies, they win a contract, they've got to hire 50 people. Now they've really got to perform. And a lot of times the biggest challenge is hiring the 50 people.
Exactly.
So then you all work with them in all those aspects. So also tell me, in the few minutes that we have left, what are some of the other services that you all provide with the Unity Group?
One of our sweet spots that we've really been helping a lot of businesses last year is strategic planning to see if this is something to put for the long term. So have a strategic planning session with us to say, not to say we want to do contracts tomorrow, but maybe we look into it for next year. And we look at it in it's 11-step process. It's a good half a day that we spend with you with our team, and we look at your marketing, your financials, those kind of things. And also that strategic planning session would help you find investors to say, I am going to go to that next level. Because what we are finding out, there's a lot of businesses and a lot of investors are coming from Wall Street. But they want you to show you what the growth potentials are. And they're not going to want to look for it. They want you to bring it to the table.
And then you all work with them and help them and even figuring that information out. Because it sounds like it starts getting really technical. Now you're really in business. What in the world do I do? So you all work with them and help them figure that and work through all of that.
We try to minimize the nail biting.
We
try to minimize the nail biting. We know there's going to be some, but we try to minimize that to the point that, listen, it's okay if you make mistakes, but let's help you learn from them so that you can minimize them as they go. Because it's going to happen at some point. You're going to make some. You're going to trip up. You're going to get tripped up at some point. So our biggest thing is being very customer oriented from our customers to their customers. Because you can get a widget anywhere nowadays, and you can have this. My widget is better than your widget, but it's about what can I do more for that customer.
How are you really saving them and helping them with their pain points and so on?
Absolutely.
So before they spend too much more money, I mean, we've all gone through our pain points. If we could have invested better. That would have been a big thing. Now, I know, because I met you all through networking. Talk about that piece of it and how networking is important and just that follow-up is important with businesses, both from the government contracting side, but just from business in general.
It's critical. It's not just important, it's critical. Now, that's not to say that you have to run down every networking event out there. I'm not saying that. But you have to you strategically know what networking events or networking opportunities are best suited for what you're trying to accomplish. And that way, so you're not, casting that big fish net thinking, well, maybe something will come up, maybe it won't, when you can strategically fish and know where they are and go at it that way.
And strategically know where the government entities are. So, if you have never done work with the Department of Interior, you want to go to their event, but know some background about them before you go, instead of just going and saying, you're going to give me a contract.
That's interesting. That's interesting here. Now, with all of that, it's so much to run in a business, and then we start adding the government part to it and the contracts and getting certified. How do you not get overwhelmed with your business?
What you do is you strategically grow your business and and one of our things that we saw this is growing your business and adding people as you're going. A lot of businesses are scared to add the people. When you add the people, it just makes you that much stronger. And I think that's the biggest weakness of a lot of businesses is when do I add more people?
Well, I'll just add 2 words to that. Call us.
Exactly. That's perfect. And while we're at that, tell everyone how they actually get in touch with you.
So our website is DUnity, and it's D as in Delta, UNITY group, GROUP.com, and it's info at DUnityGroup.com, and our phone number is 678-701-8495.
So everyone, make sure that if you have any interest in doing business with the government or just in growing your business to the next level, make sure that you reach out to Stacy and Roger. And before we go, I also just want to mention your alliance and partnerships that you all have. Tell everyone a little bit about that too, because that's going to be great information for them.
So our alliance and partnerships we're looking for business associations that want to grow their membership. We can help them grow that with doing some great workshops and partnership in that aspect. And then we're always looking for alliance partnerships from websites because, a lot of our businesses need that web developer to branding, you name it. Marketing. Marketing is probably the biggest one, as you know. That's ever changing. And so it's real important to have enough. And we always tell people, there's enough pie for everybody.
Absolutely. And you're so right about that. We always say collaboration is better than competition.
Yes.
It's great opportunities. And you all collaborate so well together. So give us a little hint on what it's like working together as a husband and wife team.
Well, a lot of people don't know. Well, some people do, but I met Roger at graduate school. So we worked together before we even started a business.
Okay.
And I think that's been our beneficiary. We've been able to give each other feedback without hurting each other's feelings. And I think that has helped us. And we're all about divide and conquer. We don't always go to all the events together because of the fact that we have to do work too.
Absolutely. Any need to add anything else?
She said it all. Yes. No, actually, it does work well. I mean, not everyone can do it, but you can, and you have to learn to be able to separate, business from your personal life, and understand. Okay, enough's enough, and you need to let it go for shut it down.
Absolutely. That sounds great. I think that's some great advice for everyone, whether you're a husband-wife team or you're just in a partnership. I think that's excellent advice. So again, everyone, make sure that you all reach out to Roger and Stacy Vaughn with D Unity Group. Excellent company for you all to get involved with, whether it be as a client with them or whether it be a partnership or alliance. Some great opportunities. Be sure to reach out to them at www.dunitygroup.com. And that's it for this episode of That's My Biz. You all can, of course, watch us again on demand at www.bizlinks.tv. Until next time, everyone, let's connect. Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed on demand on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are interested in having your products, services, or special cause showcased on our program, submit an inquiry to that'smybiz@bizlinks.tv. In addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at bizlinks.tv.